Under chemical properties of oxygen, children, we need to discuss third one, that is a reaction with the compounds. Reaction with the compounds also. So far, metals and non-metals we have discussed. Under that, a reaction with sulfur dioxide. First reaction, that is SO2 plus O2. SO2 plus O2. It can be taken as SO3. 2SO2 plus O2 giving rise to 2SO3. We can use a catalyst, that is vanadium pentoxide can be used as a catalyst around 723 Kelvin. This reaction can be used in contacts process for the manufacture of sulfuric acid. Similarly, when it reacts with HCl plus O2, which gives you Cl2 plus H2O in the presence of a catalyst called as copper chloride catalyst at 700 Kelvin. HCl has been oxidized to chlorine. If you balance it here, 4HCl. This process is called as Decon's process. Used for manufacture of chlorine. What is the catalyst can be used in the manufacture of chlorine is copper chloride by this process. Another one is catalytic oxidation of ammonia, which is well known to you. NH3 plus O2 giving rise to NO plus H2. That is 4 NH3 plus 5 O2, 4 NO2 plus 6 H2. So this can be done in the presence of a catalyst, that is platinum or rhodium gas. Metal gas we have discussed in Ostwald's process also. Catalytic oxidation of ammonia. Gives nitric oxide. Similarly, if you observe combustion reactions, alkanes, generally organic compounds, especially hydrocarbons, when they react with oxygen, they can form carbon dioxide and water. That is CH4 plus O2 giving rise to CO2 plus H2O, and this enthalpy of combustion is around, it's exothermic. Just hold on. It is exothermic and it releases around 890 kilojoule per mole of energy can be released. And if you balance it, you'll get here 2 and here 2. So when methane undergo combustion, it produces CO2 and H2O. So combustion is an example of complete oxidation reaction. Similarly, with the carbon disulfide, with the CS2, carbon disulfide, whenever it reacts with oxygen, if it reacts with oxygen, and then it produces CO2 as well as SO2. Carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide can be produced, and if you balance it, you get 2 sulfurs, and here you'll get 3. 6 oxygens are there. So with carbon disulfide, we can prepare sulfur dioxide along with the carbon dioxide. Not only with the carbon disulfide, and the next with the metal sulfides also oxygen can react. With the metal sulfides also oxygen can react. With the metal sulfides like zinc sulfide is there. If it react with oxygen, what we are going to get it, ZnO, zinc oxide plus sulfur dioxide can be obtained. If you balance it, ZnS plus, if you balance it here, you'll get 3O2, and here 2, and here 2, and here 2. Fine. So with metal sulfides like zinc sulfide, with oxygen reacts, it produces ZnO and sulfur dioxide also. It is also another chemical property can be given for oxygen, children. Right? All these are the chemical properties of oxygen. Please copy it. Uses of oxygen. Uses of oxygen. If you take liquid oxygen, this liquid oxygen can be used as rocket fuel. Liquid oxygen can be used as a rocket fuel, and as well as this oxygen mixed with carbon black. Oxygen mixed with the carbon black, used as a dynamite. Used as a dynamite in coal mines. Dynamite in coal mines. And as well as oxygen, if it mixed with helium, it is used in artificial respiration. Used in artificial respiration. Especially for scuba divers who can do diving, okay, especially for scuba divers who goes to the deeper parts of the seawater, that scuba divers used to carry the cylinders, and those cylinders actually consisting of oxygen and helium. That means it is used in artificial respiration. And this oxygen, it also can be used as oxidizing agent. It can be used as an oxidizing agent. That you can understand from the reactions, like if you observe it here, HCl can be oxidized to chlorine. In that case, oxygen can be used as an oxidizing agent also. That is also one of the application. And as well as used for the production of oxyhydrogen or oxyacetylene flame. Oxyhydrogen or oxyacetylene flame. Actually, these flames, especially oxyacetylene torches, can be used for welding purposes. For welding purposes, we can use a torch. That torch is nothing but oxyacetylene torch. So, in that acetylene, whenever it is reacting with oxygen, it undergo combustion and produces lot of heat energy. That heat will be used for the welding purposes. That is also another application of oxygen only. All these are the major uses of the oxygen can be given. And next we have oxides. Next we have oxides. Now, generally in the previous classes, like in class 11 also, we have learned in periodic classification of elements. How many of you remember it? I don't know. So based on the, you can say chemical behavior. Based on the chemical behavior, there are different types of oxides: acidic oxides, basic oxides, amphoteric oxides, neutral oxides, which you have learned in periodic classification of elements, children. So those type of oxides we are not going to discuss it, right? Which we have already done. The discussion is already done. But here, based on percentage of oxygen content, and based on their oxygen content, you can say that, right? So you can simply write it as based on their oxygen content. We are not going to mention the percentages, based on their oxygen content. So we have two types of oxides majorly. One is simple or normal oxides. Simple or normal oxides. Second one is mixed oxides. Second one is mixed oxides, right? Mixed oxides is nothing but combination of two simple oxides. Mixed oxides are combination of two simple oxides. If you combine two simple oxides, you will get mixed oxide. The best example you can take it PB3O4. PB3O4 is also said to be red lead. It is a mixture of PbO and PbO2. It's a mixture of PbO and PbO2. Can write it like this. Okay, Pb3 and O4. It is nothing but lead monoxide. It is called as lead monoxide, and it is called as lead dioxide. Lead dioxide. Both these are actually simple oxides. When they are combining, it will give Pb3O4. Similarly, we have Fe3O4, which is equal to FeO plus Fe2, Fe2O3. Fe2O3 is called as ferric oxide. FeO is called as ferrous oxide. Ferrous oxide. It is an example of a mixed oxide. Similarly, I'll be writing one example here on the top. Mn3O4. Mn3O4, which is mixed oxide consisting of MnO as well as MnO2. Both these oxides are there. Simple oxides, MnO2 as well as MnO, which gives a mixed oxide, that is Mn3O4. When it comes to simple oxide or normal oxide, observe it carefully. Mg, magnesium. What is the oxidation number? What is the oxidation number of magnesium? It's what is
+2.
+2.
Magnesium is 0, but in oxide
generally 0. In the ionic form, it can have +2 oxidation state. So how many oxygens are required for this? +2 oxidation state means only one oxygen is required. One oxygen is required. So to compensate its positive charge, so it will be Mg. So similarly, Al, oxidation number is +3. So oxygen oxidation number is -2. To compensate this positive charge, there are 3 oxygens required. And then oxide formula is Al2O3. So simple oxides or normal oxides are those oxides which contains just as much oxygen as permitted by the normal oxidation number of M. M means here central atom. The central atom here in this case Mg. In the second case it is Al2O3. In case of Al2O3, Al is the central atom. As per requirement of the oxidation number of the metal or central atom, how many oxygens are required? Those many oxygens only will be permitted for that compound. Such type of oxides are said to be simple or normal oxides. So based on the oxygen content, we can classify them majorly into simple or normal oxides and mixed oxides. Okay, please copy it. Chapter, that is ozone. Formula O3. You can say it as allotrope of oxygen. Allotrope of oxygen. Let's see the preparation method first. How do you prepare ozone? In the sense, by silent electric discharge of oxygen. By silent electric discharge of oxygen, we can prepare ozone, that is 3O2 reversible with 2O3. It is highly endothermic. Delta H is around 142 kilojoule per mole. Delta H is around 142 kilojoule per mole. Here silent electric discharge means sparkless electric discharge, right? It is requires large amount of heat energy. That's why it is highly endothermic. It is highly endothermic reaction. You can say that it is highly endothermic reaction, and we can prepare up to 10% of the ozone. Around we can prepare 10% of the ozone. So that's why this 10% of the ozone which is formed over here, which is called as ozonized oxygen. Rather than we call it as ozone, we can call it as ozonized oxygen. Generally, this preparation can be done in an apparatus. This apparatus used for this purpose is called as ozonizer. Ozonizer is an apparatus which is used for the preparation of the ozone. And furtherly, we can concentrate it. If you would like to get high concentration of the ozone, then we have to use this ozonizer for preparation of the high concentration of the ozone. Here, 10% of the ozone can be prepared by silent electric discharge of the oxygen. Now let's see the structure of ozone, which is familiar to you, which you have learned in chemical bonding chapter. In that, here, O single bond O, O double bond O, and which is having a resonance structure, that is O double bond O and single bond O. If you give the formal charges, it has extra bond, so plus with one lone pair. Its formal charge is 0, and this formal charge is -1, which is having short of one bond. And double bond can be delocalized, and then it is having positive charge, and it is having minus charge, and it is having two lone pairs, and it is also having two lone pairs. Double bond has been delocalized, so resonance hybrid of ozone can be given like this, and which is having a bond angle of around 117 degree, and this OO bond length can be taken as 128 picometer. This bond length, OO bond length, is intermediate bond length between OO single bond length as well as OO double bond length. Double bond length is around 110 picometer in ozone, and the single bond length is 148 picometer. But here these double bonds are involved in resonance. That's the reason this this bond length is intermediate of those two bond lengths. That can be observed by the help of resonance phenomenon itself. And next, if you observe that physical properties of ozone, O3 is diamagnetic, not like oxygen. Oxygen is paramagnetic. Observe the difference. Oxygen is paramagnetic due to the presence of two unpaired electrons present in anti-bonding molecular orbital. So, but here each and every oxygen consisting of 6 valence electrons. In O3, 3 into 6, 18. So, remaining 2 electrons will pair up those two unpaired electrons. By that, it becomes diamagnetic. And ozone, it is slightly soluble in water. Slightly soluble in water as per solubility if you observe, but more soluble in organic solvents, such as we can take turpentine oil, as well as cinnamon oil. All these are examples of organic solvents only. In these organic solvents, it is highly soluble, but in water it is slightly soluble. A point of difference, you need to understand it clearly. And now it is a pale blue colored gas. It is a pale blue colored gas. And it is having a strong characteristic smell, and that smell is also it is having strong odor, that is having characteristic smell, a bad smell, a rotten smell will be there, ozone. And it is a pale blue colored gas also. These are the major physical properties can be given for ozone. And next we'll talk about the chemical properties. Please.
Sir, is it poison?
Chemical properties of ozone. First thing, it is neutral in nature. It is neutral to litmus. Generally, if blue litmus converts into red, it is acidic. If red litmus is converts into blue litmus, it is basic. But it will not convert it will not change the color of the litmus paper. Hence, it is, we can say that, neutral to the litmus. And second one is decomposition. Decomposition. If you observe the preparation of the ozone, in preparation of ozone, 3O2 reversible with 2O3. This is the preparation of ozone can be given. So delta H is, it's around plus 142 kilojoule per mole in the sense. What does it mean? It is thermodynamically unstable. It is thermodynamically unstable. If it is thermodynamically unstable in the sense, it can undergo decomposition. It can undergo decomposition slowly. It can undergo decomposition slowly. But suppose if you would like to speed up the process, you have to use the catalyst, or else you can use the temperature also. But slowly it can be decomposed because thermodynamically unstable. And the decomposition, that means backward reaction, is also favorable. Backward reaction can be favorable because if you observe it from this process to this process, delta H becomes negative first of all. Delta H is negative. So the reaction is exothermic. Here 2 moles of ozone is there, left side. This side you can see 3 moles of oxygen. So it is 3 moles of gases and it is 2 moles of gases. So what is happening to the entropy? Delta S is becoming positive because entropy increases. These two factors make delta G as negative because delta H is negative, delta S is positive. Delta G is negative, so process is spontaneous. Process is spontaneous. So that's why O3 can be converted into O2. That process occurs slowly. But if you would like to speed up, then you have to apply the temperature around 473 Kelvin. So if you apply the temperature, O3 can be decomposed to O2. That is about decomposition, children. And next, we have very, very important chemical property of ozone, that is oxidizing nature of ozone. Oxidizing nature of ozone. It's a strong oxidizing agent, children. It is a strong oxidizing agent, but weaker than fluorine. But weaker than fluorine. That means it cannot oxidize fluorine. Remember that. So whenever if they have given any reaction with fluorine, it cannot oxidize. Fluorine can oxidize ozone, but ozone cannot oxidize fluorine. Fluorine is stronger oxidizing agent compared to ozone. Is it clear? So now this oxidizing nature is because of O3. Whenever it undergo decomposition, it gives O2 plus O. It produces oxygen and atomic oxygen. It produces atomic oxygen. This atomic oxygen is responsible for the oxidizing nature of the ozone. Responsible for oxidizing nature of ozone. Now, if we use various medium, let us say in acidic medium, I have taken in acidic medium. This acidic medium, if I take it O3 in the presence of H plus ion, by gain of 2 electrons, it gets converted into O2 plus H2O. It is an acidic medium. Gain of electrons is taking place. Gain of electrons is called reduction. So O3 can behave as an oxidizing agent. Similarly, in basic medium, excuse me. Similarly, in basic medium, if you observe it, O3 and H2O, by gain of 2 electrons, it gets converted into O2 plus 2OH minus. It is the reaction can be given in a basic medium, but most of the reactions are taking place in acidic medium, right? If it is there in basic medium, this reaction should be used. If it is in acidic medium, this reaction must be used. But in both of these reactions, if you observe it, O3 is converting into O2, and the remaining atomic oxygen is there now, that is responsible for the oxidizing behavior of the ozone. Let's see the reactions what we have. First reaction itself is very important. PbS2, PbSO4. Way of asking question in JEE mains, if it is, they will give the 4 reactions in the options. Which of the following reaction is not oxidizing behavior of the ozone reaction? You have to identify in JEE mains. If it is advanced, they will give the match the following questions. Generally in advanced, matrix matching. Okay, there are so many, plenty of reactions are there. That's why PbS can be oxidized to PbSO4. So PbS plus O3 giving rise to PbSO4 and O2. If you balance it, 4O3, 4O2. Check it, it's balanced. Lead sulfide has been changed to lead sulfate. Still, if you have a doubt in balancing part, you know that how to balance it. But one reaction I can write it, for every reaction is not possible. For one reaction, we can write it as S2 minus, no, lead sulfide. S2 minus can be changed to SO4 2 minus. Oxidation number of sulfur, here it is -2. Here it is +6. -2 has been changed to +6, means by loss of 8 electrons. By loss of 8 electrons only. Now, if you observe the reaction there itself, O3, S2 minus we have already given it. Yes or no? Then O3 can be written it as plus, that's top reaction only I'm writing, 2H plus and 2 electrons giving rise to O2 and H2. Yes or no, children? This is the reaction. No? But here how many electrons are there? 8 electrons. Here how many electrons are there? 2 electrons. So it should be multiplied with 4. Then electrons can be equal. If electrons are equal, this can be cancelled. And what is the equation you are going to get it? If you add these, what you are going to get it? 4O3, no? I'll be writing here. Check it on the top. 4O3, and what we have? S2 minus. Other side what we have? 4O2.
8H. Sir, H.
H plus would be leaving it, not an issue. And other side what we have? SO4 2 minus. S2 minus, SO4 2 minus. O3 changes to O2. That S2 minus we are writing it as PbS. SO4 2 minus we are writing it as PbSO4 in normal equation, but it is ionic equation. It is molecular equation, right? Please copy it. Hope you can manage with the ionic equations. Next, HX can be oxidized to X2. HX can be oxidized to X2. Hope you know that HX means hydrogen halides. These hydrogen halides can be oxidized to halogens. So if I take HCl, treat it with ozone. Being ozone, it is acting as an oxidizing agent. It can be converted into Cl2 plus H2 plus O2 will be getting. And then if you balance it, you'll get a 2, and here 4, and here 2. So HCl has been oxidized to chlorine in this reaction. And next reaction we have potassium iodide to I2. Potassium iodide to I2. This conversion also can be done with the help of ozone. Very important conversion, children. Ki, if I take it, and this Ki, if it reacts with the ozone, and it produces I2 plus O2 plus KOH. KOH can be produced, so it will give H2O here. Right, to balance it, you have to add the H2 and OH2. So if you balance it, what you are going to get it? Here 2 iodines are balanced, and O3 and O. Here 4 oxygens are there. Other side, okay, 4 oxygens. Now check it, all are balanced. So now Ki has been converted into, check it carefully, that Ki has been converted into I2. But how formation of iodine can be observed if you add starch solution. If you add a starch solution, it becomes deep blue. It becomes a deep blue. So O3 can convert the potassium iodide to iodine. Potassium iodide to iodine. For suppose if you add starch solution, it reacts with iodine and color changes to deep blue. So this way we can identify iodine is released in this reaction. So that is another important point should be added over there. And next, nitrite. Nitrite to nitrate. Nitrite can be changed to nitrate. Okay, in this reaction, if you take it KNO2, KNO2 means potassium nitrite treated with ozone, which gives KNO3 plus O2. KNO3 plus O2, of course, we have to balance it, children. Okay, this reaction. This is potassium nitrite changes to potassium nitrate. NO2 minus has been changed to NO3 minus. That also you can write. NO2 minus changes to NO3 minus. And next we have very important oxidizes. Oxidizes Fe2 plus 2, Fe3 plus. What does it mean? Ferrous salts can be changed to ferric. Ferrous can be changed to ferric. But suppose if you take FeSO4 in acidic medium, H2SO4, treat it with ozone, and it gets converted into Fe2, SO4 taken thrice, and O3 can be changed to O2 and H2. Here 2 iron atoms are there. Here 2, 3 sulfates are there. Sorry, so it can be taken as 3 if you balance it, and anything else is pending. Check it. 6 no hydrogens. Here 3. And 2 4s are overall okay. Atoms are balanced it or not? Let's check it. Is that? So in this case, FeSO4 can be changed to Fe2SO4 thrice. That is, ferrous sulfate can be changed to ferric sulfate. Ferrous sulfate has been changed to ferric sulfate. Means Fe plus 2 has been oxidized to Fe plus 3. Okay, remaining reactions will be continuing in the next class. Still, there are so many oxidation reactions. So far, we have discussed about oxidation of various elements, and oxidation of non-metals is there. Oxidation of metals also there. That will be continued in the next class.